Hello, this is Dr. Dave Gaitros. We're continuing on with our directory management series of lectures in Unix. We'd like to explain how we set permissions inside a Unix system on files and directories. Now to do that, we're going to be showing you one version of chmod that uses numbers to represent permissions. It uses a binary and octal representation, which is what we're going to explain today. Every file or directory has permissions that can be set of read, write, or execute. Okay, so what we're going to do right now is we're going to show you how that's set. It uses binary to set bits on or off, and then an octal representation of that binary number is used in the setting. Now we're going to have to explain this, and you're going to have to rerun this lecture a couple times to probably get it right. Let's start off. Let's say that in a file or directory we have we don't want to set the read, write, or execute on. The octal representation is 0 and the meaning of it is no permissions. Okay, now we'll go on to the next one. I'm going to turn the read off, I'm going to turn write off, and I'm going to turn execute on. The octal representation of that binary number is 1, and it says we can execute. Okay. Now I'm going to turn read off and I'm going to turn write on, and I'm going to turn execute off. Now look over to the left and you're going to see under the right column the number representation up here, which I'll bold these so you can look in for that and underline them, maybe italicize them too, is 2. So what we do here is we add up the number representations for them. So in this case it's 2, the others are 0, so the octal representation here is 2, and we're going to say we can write. Okay. Now I'm going to turn read off and write on and execute on. Again, let's add the numbers up at the top. That's 2 plus 1, so that's 3, and this means that I can write and execute. Okay. Now I'm going to turn read on and I'm going to turn write off. Okay, so add those up, and that is 4. We see that up top, 4, so we can read that file or directory. Now I'm going to turn read on and write off and execute on, and I'll add those up. That's 4 plus 1, so that's 5. So that means that I can read and oops, hit the wrong key, execute. I'm going to change this one right here if I'm going to be consistent. And I want to get used to using these letters too. We'll use those later. Okay, now let's do another one. We're going to turn read on, we're going to turn write on, and we're going to leave execute off. We'll add those numbers up. We see that that is a 4 plus 2, so that's 6. So that is read and write. And now finally we're going to turn them all on. Oops, that's not a 2, there's a 1 right there. 1, 1, and then that is 7. That's and then we just say that's all permissions. Okay, so essentially if you want to set permissions, the first thing you have to do is you have to find out which one of these 3 you want turned on. You read, write, or execute, and this is a very, very handy table to keep to the side to actually look at it. It says, so okay, if I want to turn the read on and execute, but I don't want to write them, then I'll use the number 5 to represent that, and that's how we view this. This column right here are the binary numbers. Okay, we actually don't enter this in the command that we're going to use. We're going to use that numbers to turn on bits, turn off bits, and then use the octal representation of that number. So this is octal, 0 through 7, 3 bits. No permissions, execute, write, write, execute, read, read, execute, read, write, and then all permissions are set. And it's a good idea to kind of remember this. This is going to be used in one version of chmod or chmod that we're going to actually be showing you here in a little bit. Alright, well, this is the numbering system. Now, before we go on to the next part of this lesson, we'll move this over to the side. I'm going to log in here, and we're going to actually go a little bit further. I'm going to log into Shell because that's the one that you're going to be using. Okay. Alright, here we go. Make this a little bit larger so people can see it clear. Okay. I'm going to make sure I get the font big enough here. 14. Okay, that's big. So we'll get it bigger so everybody can see it in case you have bad eyes. Okay, well, let's go into a directory that I've got set up for this. Clear. And I've got some files in there. I've got file 1, file 2, file 3, and then a temporary directory that have had some in .dat, some in .txt. And before we go a little bit further, we're going to show you what the directory looks like. Well, I'm going to do a directory listing, and I'm going to do all files and the details of them. And you'll notice over to the left hand side you're going to see a series of letters with the D, R, W, and X, and then dashes. And what do those mean? Well, every file or directory has 3 groups that can access the system. The owner or user of the file itself, the person who owns that file or directory and created it, possibly. The second is the group that the person belongs to. I belong to computer science faculty, CS faculty, so that's the group I belong to. And then everybody else, or the world, or other. And what the letters on the left hand side are representative of that. The first letter is either a D or a dash, and that's just a sign that says this is either a directory or it's not a directory. If there's a D there, it's a directory. If it's not a D there, it's just a regular file. The second 3 letters, R, W, and X, in this particular case right here, those are the permissions that are given to the owner. Okay. The second 3, okay, are the permissions given to the group that the owner belongs to, and then the next 3 are those of the world. Now let's go back to our over here, and we'll see that, let me make this a little bit smaller, okay, and we'll see that this corresponds to this map right here, the read, write, and execute. Okay, notice that whenever the 1 is turned on in say read for the owner, that R will appear. If it's turned off, another 0, it'll be a dash. Okay, so they'll have 3 sets of numbers that are associated with it. Okay, read, write, and execute. Alright, well, this is lecture number 1. What I'd like you to do is I'd like you to go over this lecture a couple of times at least to kind of understand the numbering system. That's very important. We're actually going to go back and review the directory contents here on our next series of lectures when we're going to show you how to change permissions. Alright, very good. Well, on to lesson number 2 then.